Hey, Tyler.
Hey,
What's going on? How
Pierre.
we doing? Welcome to the New Score podcast. My name is Pat. This is my co-host, TYG, Tyler Pratt. Tyler, what's going on?
Honestly,
Is it a gloomy
it's a
day
cold
up in New
fucking day.
York?
It's a cold day here. It is
A
a
little gloomy in
gloomy
Tampa
gray
as
day
well.
here. I mean, what's expected though? Bipolar weather here. I was just as I was telling you earlier, I was just over in Mount Airy, which by the way, uh Central New York fellas, golf trip, take your boys, Mount Airy Casino, dope course. Gotta hit it. 2.5 hour drive from Syracuse. You can't go wrong. You can't. Great course. But either way, now
Nothing
we're here to
beats
talk
a
about.
golf
So,
trip with the boys. Nothing beats a
what's
golf
up,
trip
Pat? How
with the
we got?
boys.
Nothing beats a golf trip with the boys. Oh, and get your Moscow Mules presented by
I don't know if we
Tito's,
could do that quite yet, but
baby. No,
groovy,
I'm
baby.
not getting paid. I'm not getting
Groovy.
paid. That's free advertising.
Well, a little background. This is something that we've been,
Groovy.
talking about, thinking about doing for a while. From the time we lived together in Orlando with everybody, and it's about that time where we got to
Yeah.
it. Everybody else is starting a podcast, so it's time we do.
hmm
So this is episode 1.
It's about time. Yeah. I mean,
I want everybody to like and subscribe to New Score on YouTube, New Score podcast on YouTube. Everything else we're sorting out right now, to kind of doing everything on the fly as we go, learning more day by day.
yeah. Is this even a swipe up scenario? Can we do like a Caleb
Yeah,
Presley? Follow the finger.
we'll have to get something together like Stu Feiner does on
Swipe up.
Advisors.
Subscribe. Stu, shout out Stu. I mean, imagine that one day though.
That would be
Imagine if we can get
legendary.
Stu on here.
Oh
That'd
my
be
goodness,
honestly, that might be too much for
it
me.
would be too much. Oh no,
Oh,
we got our first guest.
I would like to welcome. He's gonna pop in randomly. Um, his name. So it's Rusty. Fucking. That's all you need to know. To be honest with you, but you're gonna hear him here and there. He's cool. He's cool. He's obnoxious. But
We'll get
yeah,
to it.
let's get right into it, Pat. What do we
So
got?
we're
How
kind
are we
of
getting
doing this
started?
thing segment by segment as we go. We'll switch it up, day by day based on what's going on in the sports world. We're going to react to everything that we can. We're going to involve some music. We're going to involve some entertainment. We're going to involve some, ranting. If need be, if there's something's going on, like the weird
Mm-hmm.
alert everybody got on their phone, something like that we have to talk about. We might talk about that. So just going to be kind of something for everybody to get in here and
Oh yeah.
enjoy some conversation.
Can I comment?
Yeah, go ahead.
Comment
That's what
on
we're
that
here for.
quickly. The fucking. Can you imagine? Can you imagine how many people in like prison
Oh,
who've been sneaking the cell
yeah.
phones in?
I didn't
Like
even
how
think
many
about
guys in
that.
prison got caught up, right? Or yeah,
Oh,
no, Amish people.
oh yeah. They're in trouble.
They can't have technology. Next thing you know,
Yeah.
eh.
Yeah. All right,
Either
let's
way, though,
get
I
to it.
digress. So,
Let's start it off with our pet peeve.
mm,
Our pet peeve of the day. Pet peeve
yeah.
doesn't have to be sports related. It could be anything. Tyler, what's been your pet peeve this week?
Can you hear? Can you guys hear this?
Slurpees.
Slurping. Not my pet peeve, but either way, it could be some. My pet peeve. So speaking of Mount Airy, I was in the casino, right? We're at the blackjack table. We're getting after it, right? The boys are getting rowdy. We're trying to win some money. We're teaching a couple people how to play blackjack. I'm not like super familiar with all of the odds, right? When to hit, when to double, when to split, all that. But one of my boys was. So we were doing well. Either way, we get a drink girl that comes by and we're like, asking to see if we can get a drink. And she says we need to have a card. Previously, we talked to the pit boss and we're like, hey, can we get someone over here to get some drinks? He goes, yeah, sure. Brings the girl over eventually after like 5 minutes. And then she tells us we need cards. So already that's a waste of time. Have to go back, right, to the pit boss, get us cards. He gives us cards, brings it back, and we have so now we have the cards. The chick comes by again and asks us what we want, and we asked for like Tito's soda, and then she was like, "Oh well, if you want a mixed drink, you got to go to the bar."
What are you
We're
here
like,
for?
"Yeah, what
What are
the
you doing?
fuck?"
What's going on? What are we
Right?
doing here?
What the fuck? We could have avoided all this and just went to the bar. Yeah. So I guess I know I kind of told the whole story there, but hey, listen, if you're a drink girl and you're out there, all we want to do is see you
It's
smile
big positivity.
and give us some
Positivity.
alcohol. You right? That's that's it, right? Smile, give us a drink. I'm not too picky. Some people are, but you're in the service industry. For all you who are in the service industry, that's all it is, right? Fucking
Fake
be
it.
positive. No one wants the negativity. So get your act together.
Yeah.
I don't even know what the server's name was, or
I
she'll
mean,
ever hear
you
this,
and I
but
have
get
both
your
been
act
there.
together.
You and I have both been there
That's my
in the
rant.
industry. You just gotta
Yeah.
fake it.
Pet
Yeah.
pet peeve of the day:
Positivity.
positivity.
All right. My
How
pet
about you?
peeve
What do you got?
would happen to be something that's been bugging me the last 6 years. I've been in Florida. I just now have a platform to talk about it, and it is Florida
Oof.
drivers are the worst people in the world, especially in Tampa when the traffic is backed up
It's so
bumper to
good.
bumper on the highway every
Mm-hmm.
day. Doesn't matter what time, what day it is. And then when you do get a little leeway,
Mm-hmm.
it's always those two lanes to the left that are packed tight. People driving 5 miles under the speed limit, and I can't get where I'm going because then there's people in the
Mm.
right lane who are going even slower than that, and it's just a big shit show debacle. Nobody's in a hurry to get anywhere. You know,
You hate to hear it.
nobody's got anything to do. No places to
No,
be. We're just out here going for a stroll in the passing lane, as we call. That's the thing. I don't think they recognize that down here. It's like,
uh,
oh, it's just every lane is whatever you want, go in any lane, but it's passing lane is the left.
there's no rules.
Yeah,
It's the fucking
it's
wild
nuts.
west out there. Yeah, no. So can I ask you this because you've been driving now in Tampa and then in Orlando for I'd say probably give or maybe the same amount of time, give or
Tampa's
take,
way
right?
worse.
What's worse?
Tampa's way worse. And I thought Orlando was bad.
Tampa's way worse.
Yeah, I thought Orlando was
Shout out
bad.
Orlando.
It's not as bad as Tampa. It's bad. It
It's
is.
the wild west out there in Tampa. But yeah, no, I was just talking about that last night. Actually, it's so funny. I was talking to someone about it, and I was like, "What if, hypothetically speaking, right? What if you had to retake your driver's test once you hit like I don't know retirement 65,
Doesn't make
70
sense
years
because
old?
it's
Not that I mean that's
logical. It's logical.
pension time.
We don't do logical.
Yeah, right. But once again,
Yeah.
I
Let's get into some
digress.
sports.
That's that's
So
yeah.
first of all,
Let's fucking get into it. Let's get to it.
I want to
What we
shout
got?
out Daniel Jones. I'm gonna get to that a little later with my daily rant. My daily rant,
Danny
as
Dongs.
we like to say, is a segment. I'll get to that later, but I just want to thank you to Daniel Jones for giving
Mm-hmm.
me the inspiration um, right inside this right here. Watching you play quarterback and watching all these fans defend you for as long as they have, and
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't do it anymore. This is why this podcast is happening right now. So you gave me that extra boost, and I'll always be grateful.
Yeah,
Thank you, Daniel Jones.
100%. And to comment on that, I'm a Dallas fan, and every Cowboys, Mavericks, Stars, but I can't defend you anymore, Danny Dimes. I just can't do it, and you know, 100%. The reason we're talking right now is because of you. So huge shout out to Danny Dimes. God damn, I love you, Danny Dimes. Won me a fantasy championship last year though. Um, so he was my number one QB. So shout out Danny Dimes. Here we go.
All right, Bears Commanders. Let's talk about it. Thursday night. It's Saturday now. We got some college football going on. That's why See all this light. I apologize for the lighting, but Ohio State's in a tough game right now. We're in a game. We're battling Maryland, Tua's little brother. Hopefully we
Mm-hmm.
could pull it out. But let's talk some Bears Commanders. Tyler, what do you think? What do you think?
Oh,
We gonna overreact to how the Bears looked on Thursday night, or did you see something, that they could ride with going forward?
no, nope. I'm not overreacting. I think that watching Justin Fields throw the ball might have been hit probably his best passing game, arguably of his career. I mean, just the spots that he was putting it in. For perspective, take that final touchdown from DJ Moore. I don't know what was it, a 60-yard
Right.
touchdown right after the run, but Kyle Fuller. I think Kyle Fuller was on the coverage. He jumped the route. If that ball was put in any other spot, that's a pick. 9 out of 10 times, that's a pick six. Fields just put it in an absolute perfect position, and then obviously DJ Moore took care of the rest. All he had to do was just run. So, I don't see that happening consistently moving forward. I can't overreact to it. I think that the Bears as a team have too much to figure out. I mean, hey, maybe this is a huge confident boost that Justin Fields and the Bears just in general needed, but their defense is just too ass right now. I mean, if we're talking JV defenses in the league, the Bears are second to only the Broncos. I mean, I can't. Yeah, and the Commanders were moving the ball all day. They were. I know the
Yeah,
final
I
score.
believe
What was it?
so.
40-20. I think I think the game was actually a lot closer than that 40-20 indicated. I know the first half was kind of like the Bears coming out, kind of like the previous week against the Broncos, right? Bears dominated the first half. Second half, same thing happened, right? Commanders come out, they score, 2-point conversion, stop the Bears. Commanders go, they score again. They didn't get the 2-point conversion, but then they stop the Bears, and then they go down for a field goal to make it a 7-point game. Joey Sly misses the field goal, right? But and then after that, it just was then the DJ Moore touchdown happened, and either way, um, yeah, I can't overreact. I still think the Bears are bad. I have
Whew.
absolutely no faith in Justin
Shots
Fields.
fired. Shots fired at my boy.
None.
Um,
I'm sorry.
we've had our differences with the Justin Fields conversations these last couple of years, obviously, just as we have with Daniel Jones. Um, but I want to talk a little
Mm-hmm.
bit about the Bears defense and how they played that first half. I agree. You look at the Bears defense. They brought in Edmonds. They paid Edmonds. They brought in TJ Edwards. Those were two big moves this offseason.
Right.
But the way that they have
Yeah.
looked, these first, you know, 4 weeks, it's not been good. It's not been good. They haven't been finishing games. They went into this game
Mm-hmm.
though with three starters missing from their secondary and completely shut down Sam Howell first half.
It's huge.
Sam Howell,
Huge.
Sam Howell,
Right.
very
On
capable
a
quarterback. We've talked about as well. I think Sam Howell is going to be really good in this league. He was just slinging it in Philadelphia last week. They should have beat them. I think they would have beat them if they went for two. They
yeah.
got some weapons on that offense. I mean, Curtis
Right.
Samuels, he's a pretty good three. They got running backs.
Yeah.
Washington's
Very
got a
good
good
three.
offense, and that Bears defense, they got to him. I saw them get into Howell, which I didn't see coming. I haven't seen any pass rush from the Bears leading up to that point. And I saw guys on the back end playing their tails off for a team, that's been getting shit on the last couple weeks. So I think shout out to the Bears defense for showing up.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, Justin Fields. Um, we can go back and forth with Justin Fields, but the talent's clearly there.
Mm-hmm.
He's not always going to have DJ Moore though. Playing
Right.
like what's Washington doing? Playing one-on-one man on DJ Moore all night when he's killing you, and nobody else on that offense this year has shown signs of anything. I mean, Darnell Mooney first drive, Fields throws a ball.
Right. Oh,
He could have put a little more air on it, a little more touch on the ball, but Mooney completely turns in a circle and falls to the ground, and it's incompletion when it very well could have been six right off the bat. I don't know. what they think they have in Mooney. They just traded Claypool, obviously. Good for them. Should have cut his ass right away, but
I, you know what's funny about the Claypool trade is that I didn't even know. That's how irrelevant Claypool has been to the Bears offense, is that the entire game against the Commanders, I didn't even see him. I didn't even think about him, kind of like out of sight, out of mind.
yeah.
Had no idea he was
But he
traded.
hasn't. He
Not
took
one.
shots at the team, took shots at the
So
fan base. Doesn't want to. He's not working hard practice during the games. He's not blocking. So fuck him. Why do you want him?
yeah, get
We'll
him
see
out.
what he does in
Right.
Miami. I mean, he can't really
It's
fuck
just
anything up there. If they don't think he's going to work, then they'll just cut his ass. So
no. I mean, yeah, 'cause, who Miami's third receiver is a combination of either
I
Braxton
like
Berrios,
Barrios.
I
I
feel
like
like has
Barrios a
been
lot.
probably their third most productive. Yeah. And then, but you know what Claypool brings to the table? A
Yeah,
red zone threat. What's he, 6'4"? I think Miami's tallest receiver is probably got to be maybe Cedric Wilson at like 6'1", and he doesn't even play. He's not involved as much as he probably could be. But
something to be
either
said though
way,
about Claypool.
yeah,
I mean, he should be. He should be one of those guys in the red zone where you could throw the ball up to, and he's going to make a play. But since Big Ben, that year with Big Ben in Pittsburgh, where's the guy been? Like, what's he done?
yeah,
I just see him in all this fashion
right.
garbage. I don't see him
Doesn't
doing
it
anything on the field.
Doesn't it feel like an
Yeah,
eternity since Big Ben's been in the league?
it's crazy. Big
It just
Ben,
feels like so
Rivers.
long, but it's what's it been, 3 years? Yeah. Hey,
I want to
time
talk a
flies. The
little
league
more
moves on,
about
right? Um,
Washington and that secondary. They got to figure something out. I mean, you can't be Forbes, their rookie, was getting burnt early in that game. They ended up benching him, and the guys they put him in the game for, they're just getting burned too. Chicago needs to find a way to
yeah,
get somebody else involved though, because DJ Moore isn't gonna. He's not. You're not gonna have that opportunity with DJ Moore every week where
no,
he's gonna be in man one on one. They're not gonna have a
yeah,
safety over the top. Like, what's going on? What is Washington doing? Nobody else on that offense is beating anybody. You got to lock down DJ Moore, and you got a chance.
hmm
Chicago needs to prove that they could feature somebody else in that offense. Komet, I like Komet. I think they should feature Komet a little more. Well,
How
the
about a
running
run
backs,
game,
all three of them
right?
got hurt Thursday night, so they
Who
had Blossom, me, the fullback, playing running back. Roshan Johnson, the rookie, who I like a lot.
like,
Uh,
you know what
he
I
had a
mean?
concussion. He was out. Herbert got
He got
hurt,
popped,
and then he tried coming back
dude.
out, and he just couldn't
He got
cut
popped.
on his leg, so he came out of the game. And then Travis Homer's the third, who he never came back. So they had a fullback out there. I think they could have ran a little more read option with Fields too. Get him going, get him in the game.
hmm I mean, that's the thing, though, right? Is like, I think they've talked about it for most of the year. Um, the Bears' offense last year was so successful down the stretch, or I don't want to say so successful, but better than they have been. Right, their best form of themselves was down the stretch last year when they ran a lot of RPO with Justin Fields, and I feel like we just haven't seen that much this year. And maybe that's due to lack of getting the initial run game going with Herbert and Roshan Johnson. But yeah, I mean, hopefully those guys get healthy soon and they can start making these
Yeah,
games a little more interesting. Because I mean, 14 straight losses, giving up 25 plus points in every game. It's
with a defensive head coach
tough
too.
to watch.
That's tough
Right, right. Oh, I wanted to piggyback. Is Jack Del
yes,
Rio still the D coordinator
for
in
right now.
Washington?
I don't know how he's made it till Saturday
Gosh,
after that performance. But
I know, right? I mean, hey, it's same thing. Like how is the Saints offensive coordinator
did you
made
see
it
did you
this
see
long?
Ron
Either way,
Rivera
well,
going into the
we'll get to that
half?
later. But
Were you watching that? Uh,
I was in the hotel doing my best to watch it,
right before
but
halftime,
no, I didn't see that.
they go over to interview Ron Rivera, and they obviously got their ass kicked the first half. And lady goes, "What are you going to
hmm
say to your team in the locker room?" He's like, I'm not going to say anything. I'm going to let them do the talking. I'm not going to say anything. I'm just going to and I'm just like, what is your role here? What is your role here?
Riverboat
I
run.
mean, you're the head coach. Your team's getting their ass beat.
Yeah.
Maybe go in there, try firing them up, give them some inspiration. Like, you're just not going to say anything.
Nah.
I just think I got a lot of
Yeah.
respect for Ron Rivera
Walk in.
and everything that he stands for as a coach. And my dad actually met him, got a picture with him at some uh, benefit for veterans. He's big into helping out the veterans. So I got mad respect for Ron Rivera. I just think as a
Respect
head
that.
coach in this league right now,
Yeah.
it's getting to be that at a point. It's getting to a point where he's a little out of touch, and it might be time to move on. Maybe promote the enemy, give him a shot. We'll see how Washington
Hmm.
responds next week, though.
Yeah, that's actually I think that's a storyline to watch down the road, right? I think that if Washington continues to struggle, you might see Bieniemy get that shot eventually. I guess it just
Because the
depends
offenses
on
look
how
good.
much
Offenses look good.
is it Snyder, right? I mean, yeah, Sam Howell, what was he, a fourth or fifth round pick last year, right? You got this guy, this kid
Would have been a
coming
first
in
rounder if it
and
was the year before too.
technically leading the league in passing right now. Yeah, um, Washington's got some things to figure out on the defensive side of the ball, which surprisingly I kind of thought that was going to be their
Mhm.
strong suit coming into this year. It's been
All
quite
right,
the
let's move
opposite.
on
So
to a little segment that we like to call Hot Potato. Hot potato. So hot
hot
potato
potato.
is it's a hot potato, but it is a hot take. It is a hot take. Tyre, what's your hot potato?
Oof. God, hot take,
Hot
hot
potato.
take of the day. Um, you know, it's 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 quite controversial. I think that my hot potato of the day is that I think Danny Dimes is fine. I think I think he's okay. I think he's okay. That's so controversial. I know and this is going to lead right into the rant, and let's just get that going. But that's really my hot take, right? It's just a background to nobody who's ever talked sports with me or knows much. Like I said earlier, I'm a Dallas fan, so I have no business, absolutely none, defending or sticking up for Daniel Jones. But I got no
Worst
business even
nickname
calling
in
him Danny
sports.
Dimes. But I just fucking love the nickname, right? So it's my favorite thing to say. But I think he's okay. I think he's okay. I think they will figure it out. Like last year, first year in the offense, right? He looked like a competent quarterback, right? He looked like, okay, this guy was maybe worth the draft pick, maybe not sixth overall. I mean, but worth a shot. And I don't know, maybe Saquon being out has just really killed him. I don't know, but yeah, that's my hot potato of the day. I don't want to get too into it. I'll kind of
Yeah.
let you take over from there.
My hot potato of the day. This is going to sound wild to anybody, I assume, but my hot potato is that Drake May will be a better starting NFL quarterback than Caleb Williams.
Uh,
What do you think about that?
yeah, um, dude, I think that's. Uh, I think Caleb Williams looks, he looks fantastic. Part of that though is from what I've seen so far that the guy has
He's got weapons.
forever in the pocket. Like,
Lincoln
I mean,
Riley
everything's
calling his
there though,
plays.
right? He's got all the tools. He's got the weapons, right? He's got a fantastic arm. He's got all the tools you want in a quarterback, but right now, like, he has all day. He's got all day in the pocket, and he's making the plays though. So kudos to him. He is making the plays, but as we know in the NFL, that shit speeds up so fast. You have, this guy looks like he's got an average of 5 seconds in the
I'm
pocket.
not
That's going to be
doubting the
cut in
talent
half.
of Caleb Williams. It's
So,
obvious.
but yeah,
You watch USC play. I mean, the guy is gifted. He's special. He's been special since He was in high school,
Mm-hmm.
and then went to Oklahoma. My take on it is I like what Drake May. I like the build of him more than I like the build of Caleb Williams with all this NIL shit. I just think he's a little full of himself at this stage, being a college quarterback. That you hear
Yeah.
these rumors about certain teams that he won't play for. His dad coming out talking all about
Mm-hmm.
this. I don't hear any of that with
Yeah.
Drake May. Caleb went with Lincoln Riley
That's
to USC from Oklahoma. Drake May, he's been at North Carolina. They're not a powerhouse by any means, college football, and he's getting all these offers to go play
no.
SEC this year. He very well could have probably started at Georgia, and they'd by far be the best team in the country. If he goes to SEC school like that with defense and those guys, but he said, no, I'm going to stay here. We're building something here. He's a loyal dude. I got a lot of respect for that, and turning down
Yeah.
millions of dollars to stick it out with his guys.
Yeah. No. And then I think this is the first we've kind of even heard about a scenario like choosing what team you're going to play for in the NFL. If you forego, right? Since Philip Rivers and Eli
Eli said he
Manning,
wouldn't go
which
to
seems like an
Chargers.
eternity
That's
ago,
right. Yep.
right? But even that was just like, I think I was too young at the time to even understand everything that was going on. But yeah, no, Caleb Williams is kind of wilding out right now. I think he's just gotta, bro, get your money, and then to
You already see him in
prove
all
you're
these
that guy.
commercials
But
too. That's another thing. It's
um, like, yeah,
he is special though, and
he's caking out right now though. I'll give him that.
could very well be the greatest QB draft class of all time with these guys. I mean, you got Penix Jr., Washington, you got Bo Nix, you got Shoulder Sanders. I mean,
Mm,
that's just first round. That's just
yeah,
first round.
no, it
Talking.
could very well be beat.
There's multiple other
Yeah,
guys in the Pac-12 who are going to get drafted. So it's been fun college football season. Watch these really good quarterbacks play it out.
yeah.
Whew.
Who's the Josh Rosen of
Hopefully
this
none of them.
class,
Hopefully none of them.
right?
All right.
That poor guy. You know what though? He could be like a Blaine Gabbert, right? Someone who's still in the league.
Hey,
Big
he's
bust.
backing
But
up
either way,
Mahomes.
what we got?
He's backed up. He backed up Brady, got a ring. Now he's backing up Mahomes, ring chasing. Nobody's they're gonna say exactly. Fuck it.
Best bust of all time.
Gotta have a couple rings with him by the time he's done. All right, moving on
Exactly.
to a segment that we like to call "Say It and Grade It." "Say It and Grade It" is going to be a segment where one of
Hmm.
us says something that's going on in the sports world or whatever, and the other is going to comment. They're going to give a grade
Mm-hmm.
on whatever that subject is. So let's get it going. I'm going to start out by
Yeah.
saying the Milwaukee Bucks trade for Damian Lillard. Tyler, say it and grade it. What is your grade?
Oof. For the Bucks, I mean, it, it's an A, right? It's just it's an A. You know, um, giving up. I mean, let's go over what they gave up, right? Drew Holiday. I think we can all agree Damian Lillard is an upgrade over Drew Holiday, offensively, but defensively, you take a little bit of a hit there. Drew Holiday is an absolute stud on the defensive side of the ball, but I think Damian Lillard can still hold his own, and they have enough to surround him to help him out where he's not going to just be isolation 24/7. And I don't think defenses are going to be able to take advantage of him like some might think. Yeah, the Bucks obviously had to give up picks, but in the NBA, we all know a first round pick outside of the top 15 is it's
Right.
arguably a second round pick at that point. Like, you're kind of just taking flyers, you know. So I do think that the Bucks nailed it. Um, I think they got what they wanted. You needed to keep Giannis happy. You go out and you get one of the top point guards in the league. You show them that you're trying to build around him, and they didn't have to get
Big
rid of Chris Middleton, right? Like I think Chris Middleton is a huge X factor for their team if he can be healthy. And he's not going to, with Dame, he's not going to have to create, which is huge. He's going to be able to just sit there in the corner, sit there in the wing, and just shoot, which is going to be huge for him. So he can save a lot of his energy for the defensive end. But
touchdown, Marvin Harrison.
yeah, I would like. Oh, update. Speaking of, I want to interject. When we do the say it and grade it, can we get the Tory Lanez track? Gotta do more than just say
Yeah,
it. You know what I mean?
we'll have to
A
talk to
little
Thomas
post
about
edit
that. See what
session there.
we could
That'd be dope.
pull out from that.
Yeah, right. But I would like to say though, overall, I think that for a team that's giving up somebody as good and as talented and proven as Damian Lillard, I think the Blazers nailed the trade too. Like I think mutually for almost all parties involved in this, like so far right now, early grades, I think everyone kind of got what they wanted and got what they needed. Right. The Blazers end up getting DeAndre Ayton from the Suns. They got a guy. I don't even want to butcher his name. I'm just gonna say Kamara. I have no idea who that is, but you get Ayton, you get Drew Holiday, which by the way, you turn around and then send Drew Holiday to the Celtics, and then you get Malcolm Brogdon, Robert Williams, and then a couple first round picks on top of that, and then you add another first round pick from the Bucks, and then two first round pick swaps with the Bucks. Like
Oh yeah,
I mean, the Blazers killed it in this trade too. Like I give the Bucks an A.
yeah.
I think the Blazers got an A
I
plus.
forgot about
You
that
know,
aspect of them getting Brogdon
and
and Williams because I'm gonna talk a little bit about Drew Holiday going to Boston, but it escaped me that the fact that they had to give up Brogdon and Robert Williams, two really good players for that. Going back to Portland with Ayton, when you know that you're losing Lillard regardless, he doesn't want to play there. He's telling you to
yeah,
send him to Miami for you to pull that deal off and get that back when you had no leverage to begin with, and for you to get that in return, kudos to
yep,
Portland for that.
exactly. And then to kind of just kind of cap the trade, the Suns end up getting Grayson Allen, Keon Johnson, Nasir Little, and Nurkic, which I thought Nurkic was a huge letdown for Portland. I thought
Yeah,
he
that
was
might
going to
be the
do a lot
loser.
better
Is
for
that
him,
it?
but
That's all they got.
either way,
Really?
the Suns, yeah, that's all they got. I mean, the yeah, I mean the Celtics. I think the Suns probably got the worst of the trade. I mean, we'll see if because they just got role players, right? I know they got their big guy in Bradley Beal in the offseason, but who who's protecting the paint for them? I mean,
Like you said, he's never
Nurkic is
healthy.
now the guy.
I
Like
think I do want to say
you
I,
think,
I think Nazir Little he's
yeah,
got some potential, um, but I still think they could have got more for
yeah,
Aiton though.
I like
Giving
that.
up Aiton, they could have got more in return. But hey, I mean, if Nurkic can stay healthy, he could.
Yeah,
He's not. I mean, he's not an upgrade
yeah.
necessarily over
He
Aiton, but if he wants to be there, then that's an upgrade,
if Nurkic is motivated and he's healthy, he can be a defensive
right?
anchor. He just hasn't been, right? He hasn't been healthy. He hasn't been motivated. But the Celtics on the backside of this, getting Drew Holiday. I mean, Malcolm Brogdon didn't do shit for them last year. Right? Robert Williams is another one of those guys where it's like, yeah, he's good, but
Oh
he's
yeah,
not healthy. And when he was playing for him, it's not like he was a difference maker on their team. So they end up bringing in Porzingis in the offseason. Once again, another one of those guys. It seems like he's fitting the theme here. If he can stay healthy, he can. But that's
for
the thing; he
sure.
can be dominant. But you bring in Drew Holiday, someone who is reliable, right? He is healthy most of the time. He's going to bring it on both ends and just be. I think he's going to be a leader for them. So I think the Celtics made out good in this
I
trade as
will.
well.
I will add to the Milwaukee aspect a little bit. Giving up Drew Holiday was tough for me. I think Boston made out good. I mean, Boston lost a lot with
Mhm.
Grant Williams to Dallas too, right? So that's another loss.
Mhm.
So they lost.
Shout
They
out Grant
lost
Williams.
Brogdon. They lost Williams. They lost both Williams, and then they brought in Porzingis, and they got Drew
Mhm.
Holiday, and they lost Marcus Smart too. Can't forget about that. It's going to be a different looking team in Boston.
That's
I don't
big.
know if they're
That's
going to be
huge.
better or worse for it. I do know the Bucks are going to be worse defensively without Drew Holiday and Lillard. He has been banged up, these last
Mhm.
couple of years. If he's out there and he's healthy, and Giannis is Giannis, and Middleton is healthy, if Middleton could stay healthy and they have that big three, I mean, they're going to be the favorite. They're going to be the favorite in the East. But
Yeah.
it's, can Middleton stay healthy? Can Lillard stay healthy? Can they get? I don't know what they have for perimeter defense now, after losing Drew Holiday. What they have
Mm.
besides that, but we'll get to more NBA talk eventually. It's football season though, so
Right. Yeah. But like I mentioned, I think it was a good mutual trade for almost all parties involved. I think the biggest question mark is going to be on
for
what the
sure,
Suns got
for
back
sure.
for what they you know what they gave up. But either way,
All right,
what do we
say
got
it and
next?
grade it.
MLB,
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, let's yeah,
right?
let's talk about some MLB
MLB, we got
playoffs.
the playoffs. I have not had a I guess you can say I've not had a lot of time to watch and to get into the playoffs this year, but the one thing that I have seen, which I'm sure everyone has seen by now, was the Bryson
Yeah,
Stott, right?
Phillies.
Stott shot. Um, yeah, he walked up. The whole crowd's going crazy to his intro. They're up 3-0. First pitch,
Yeah,
he rips a
it's
grand slam.
electric.
I mean,
Philly is
epic scene,
absolutely
just straight
electric.
up
I saw a
epic.
clip of,
Yeah.
it was like a 1-2 count in the first inning, and they're just going with 2 outs, and they're just going crazy like it's the last out of the World Series. It's like, need more of that. Tampa, they got
Yeah.
19,000. Well, it's St. Pete, 19,000 fans going to those wild card games. So you got that against what's going on in Philly. Um, yeah, yeah.
I mean, is it that hard? Is it that hard, Tampa, to support your team? That Tampa can't
It
have
was,
that big of a
well,
budget,
they're building a new
right?
stadium
Like their
too, but in
payroll
St. Pete.
is
So it's,
like, I mean, not much longer that the team's going to be in that stadium. They
well,
finally
they've
make the
been a
play.
good
I don't want to say
team. They've
finally,
been a good
but
team. They just
they make
flail
the
out
playoffs. Tampa's
postseason most of the time. That's what happened this year.
uh, that's what happened again this year. I mean, but it's tough, right? Coming out of that division, you got the Yankees, the Red Sox, the Blue Jays. Like for
Yeah,
them to
in the
come out on
rotation.
top there,
Well, you got the
I
Orioles.
feel
The
like you.
Orioles who are playing right now, actually. We got some baseball going on
Oh
right now. They're
yeah,
playing the Rangers. It's 2-1 Rangers in the fourth. Baltimore ended up winning the division, but Tampa, they've held it together, and they've had a lot of injuries. That rotation
Mhm.
is banged up. I think if that rotation was healthy, we'd be having a different conversation about that. But regardless, 19,000 fans, whether it's at 3 p.m. during a weekday or not, that's pathetic.
Yeah. And just for reference, I think what you sent me last night, right? They had 19,000, and then the
Yes,
Kansas City Royals, who lost 106 games this year, had more fans at their final game. They had
nuts,
20,662 to the Royals
nuts,
19,700. Like
nuts.
unbelievable,
Yeah,
just
you
unbelievable.
don't deserve a team. I hate
I
to say it because I
can't.
live here,
It's
but
hard to
we
fathom.
don't deserve a team with that.
Right.
Do not.
It's crazy. Yeah. So that's yeah. But I do want to like if I had to pick a favorite right now,
So what's your grade? What's your
um,
grade from what you've seen so
I feel
far?
like
I'm gonna go. I every single wild card series was 2-0. Nothing went. Nothing went. Nothing went three
as
games.
a
I'm gonna
flop.
give that first round deserves a a C plus,
Mm-mm.
and I give it a plus because of it was cool watching the crowd in
Yeah.
Philly. We have our opinions on Philly
Yeah.
and how they like to do things, but they are passionate, and you got to respect that
God.
wild card series. Holding it down like they did. It's electric up there.
I just want to say to all you Philadelphia Eagles fans out there, we have a lot of close friends who are Eagles fans, but you guys are a different breed, and
Yeah,
I'm gonna leave it at that. I'm gonna leave it at that. But awesome scene on that Stott Grand Slam. Yeah, I'd have to agree with you. Pretty much like a CC plus for so far for the playoffs. I kind of want to say like my favorite moving forward is probably going to be the Braves. I think it's gonna be hard to
that's
out
who the Phillies
them
are
in a
playing
7 game
tonight.
series or five. Yeah, that's gonna be great. I mean, that
I
might
think
be the
whoever
best
wins
series of the
that is coming
playoffs.
out coming out of
Is those
National
two
League.
right
Whoever
there?
wins that series is coming out of National League.
Yeah.
As far as the American
Yep.
League
I agree.
goes, anybody except Houston is good with me. It'd be cool to see the Rangers. It'd be cool to see the Orioles. It'd be cool to see the Twins. Would be insane to see them make it. But anybody except
That would be
Houston.
crazy. No, I did not see the Twins even remotely coming close. I mean, we all have like those preseason rosters that look good on paper that teams just normally don't ever do anything with. It's like traditionally the Twins, the White Sox, and there's a couple other teams in there that always look good on paper and they don't turn it around. But like I thought that was just going to be the Twins again this year. But shout out to them. Kudos. You know they made it right. They righted the ship. But yeah, American League. I think I'd have to go with the
They
Rangers.
are.
I just think they're deep. I think the Rangers are deep. I mean, just imagine if they
I
had
don't think
DeGrom too.
Scherzer
Like,
is on the roster for the ALDS, so they will be missing him. But I mean,
really,
Montgomery's been great this year.
Monty, that's our boy.
Yeah,
What happened to
he's
Scherzer?
always
Is he
hurt, dude.
hurt?
But not to lie to the
That's
people,
fair.
I mean,
Yeah,
we haven't been paying too much attention to baseball since our Cardinals have been out of it in would you say the
sore
last
subject. Yeah,
3 months we haven't really been into baseball.
as soon
Yeah,
as pretty
yeah,
much All
it's
Star
been
break. Yeah, I'd say All Star break was like I
yeah, it's
stopped
hard
giving a
to.
shit.
It's hard, especially
You
when
know,
football starts. I mean,
yeah, it's tough. Right. I mean, normally we pay more attention because the Cardinals are 9 out of 10 times in the race, so we're kind of forced to give a shit. But this year uh, they
could you
kind of took
imagine?
that away from us. But
Could you
hey,
imagine
it
if we
humbled
would have
us.
started this podcast before the MLB season, going through what we went through this year with the Cardinals and having the platform to talk about
No, I would have looked like an
it?
absolute idiot. I would have been like Cardinals, 106 and 56.
Ali
You know what I mean?
Marmol,
I would
Coach
have.
of the Year,
Yeah,
Manager of the Year.
I don't even want to talk about it. Marwell, get him out of here,
Yeah,
dude. Get
hopefully we don't have to
him
talk about him
out.
anymore.
I No, we'll see though. And just because he's young, but Cardinals have always been fascinating how they choose who the manager is going to be.
Hmm.
They love to do in-house things, but
Shake it up. Hire
they might
Yachty.
need to think out the box
Hire Yachty.
this upcoming. God, that would be awesome. That would be great. Can you imagine? We talked about it before, getting a staff
Oof.
together: Pujols, Yachty, Waino,
Oh yeah,
all on the staff.
that would be something.
That would be crazy, but
All right, let's move on to our heel of the day, or it's going to be heel of the week, because this has gone on all week now. With we've seen it on TV a bunch. Heel of the week is going to be Evan Neal,
mhm.
offensive lineman for the New York Giants. As the Giants were getting pummeled on Monday Night Football, the fans were giving it to him as they should have. And when asked about those boos, Evan Neal said, "Why would a lion concern himself with the opinion of a sheep? The person that's commenting on my performance, what does he do? Flip hot dogs and hamburgers somewhere?" And then Evan Neal got absolutely torched on New York radio by Don LaGreca, lifetime Giants fan. I don't know. Did you see the rant? Oh my God. You have,
I did not
as
see
soon
the
as we're
rant.
done, you need to look up this
No.
rant. This guy was going in on Evan Neal, telling him they should cut his ass. He's a first round pick. One of those many offensive linemen the Giants have invested in and apparently hasn't panned out. But he's saying he's yelling at the fans, telling them to boo his ass when they see him at the DMV or at the mall and all this. Um, I saw the rant. I watched it 3 times because I thought it was hilarious and I thought it was just phenomenal. Um, Everything the
Wow.
guy said was right, in my opinion. Um, who are you to talk shit about your own
Yeah.
fan base? That's not going to get you very far.
Not even
Eric
Eric
Flowers,
Flowers talk
that
shit
guy.
about the Giants fan base. So yeah. I mean, I'll have to watch that. It seems pretty intriguing.
All right, let's get to our daily rant. Today's daily rant is brought to you by my building thoughts on Daniel Jones as a quarterback in the National Football League. So let's get into it. Daniel Jones, when he was drafted sixth
Let's
overall
get into it.
in 2019. Mind you,
Get
when he
into
was
it, yeah.
drafted, coming out of Duke, he had a career record at Duke of 17-19 as a starter. And now, as a starter in the National Football League,
Mm,
he is 22, 34, and 1. Incompetent without his superstar running back, Saquon Barkley. His statistics without Saquon on the field:
yeah.
21 games. He has 16 touchdowns, 20 interceptions, and he averages under 200 yards a game. Contract extension that he got this
Mm,
offseason. Mind you, they decided to extend him and then tag Barkley as a result of that. He got 4 years, $160 million, 81 million guaranteed. 81 million guaranteed. And when I look at Daniel Jones, I
damn.
just don't see it on tape at all. I mean, we talk about the it factor. I just don't see it on TV. Besides those 2 Minnesota games last year, I think those 2 games with that terrible, we know how bad that Minnesota defense was last year. I think those 2 games are responsible for the contract that he did get,
Preach.
beating them in the playoffs. Outside of those 2 games, I didn't see anything promising from Daniel Jones with a great offensive mind and Brian Dable. So the coach excuse, it's out the window now. Um, we want to talk about offensive line excuses. Let's be real. There's maybe 5 good offensive line units in the NFL. You could probably name them on one hand. We got the Lions, the Eagles. I like Atlanta's. I like Kansas City's. I like Dallas's. I don't know did I say Cleveland? Cleveland's offensive line is really good too.
Nope.
Besides that, I mean, there's not offensive line is a dying breed. There's not a lot of great offensive linemen. They're always getting banged up. You never have the right combination. You could literally use an offensive line excuse for a ton of guys. Joe Burrow was sacked 51 times 2 years ago and went to a Super Bowl. Last year, he was sacked 41 times when he went on that playoff run. Joe Burrow's never had a good offensive line, and he's always banged up because of it. CJ Stroud has been playing this year with 3 backup
Preach.
offensive linemen in Houston with a team that won 3 games last year. This dude was in his 4th start, lighting it up. And Daniel Jones is in his 5th year. So don't give me the offensive line excuses. I mean, 11 sacks against a team that doesn't really have it up front defensively is not all on the offensive line.
Hmm.
Um, I forget who I was listening to Orlovsky. Orlovsky was on the McAfee show, and he said he watched the tape from every single sack that happened on Monday night, and he said that the offensive line was responsible for 4 of those 11 sacks. So whether it be he's hanging on to the ball too long, he's not getting his guys set pre-snap, or he's just simply not aware in the pocket of anything. Any guys coming at him. I watched a blitz from Witherspoon, Seattle's rookie corner. He's coming off the edge, and you could see it. It's blatant. Right before the play, he's clearly coming off the edge, and he's blitzing. And Daniel Jones takes the snap, and he's just a statue in the pocket. Doesn't even you can't even see him look behind him, and Witherspoon obviously gets to him. Meanwhile, Geno Smith gets out of the game. He gets hurt. Drew Lock comes in,
Yeah.
has a nice little, 2-minute drive or whatever it was. And it's almost the same blitz. You got a free blitzing D back coming off the edge. And what's he do? He sees it coming and he dumps it out to DK in the flat right away because that's that's quarterback. That's quarterback play in the NFL.
Hot route.
I mean, your first read is not always going to be there.
Mm-hmm.
You got to progress your reads. This guy's glued to his first target. Witherspoon said it. He had a pick six later in the game, and they're interviewing him after the game. And this guy's a rookie talking about how they were preparing for Daniel Jones, how he likes to stare down his first target, and he's going there with the ball. And if he's not going there, his first read, he's going to tuck it and run, or he's going to hold it too long because he can't progress through his reads, and he's going down for a sack. For a rookie to have that on a fifth-year quarterback is pretty astonishing. Mind you, it's a fifth-year quarterback who just got extended. So that's where I'm coming from with Daniel Jones. As far as him getting drafted 6 overall, that had nothing to do with showing their GM now and Dable. Those guys were in Buffalo when the Giants drafted. Dave Gettleman drafted him 6 overall. They have no tie to Daniel Jones whatsoever. So if they were to cut ties with Daniel Jones this offseason, who would have blamed him for that? You know what I mean? Like they have no
Mm-hmm.
allegiance to keep Daniel Jones as their quarterback. So that surprised me. They did. And that's
But
fine
they
if you
did.
did and you tag them. So you're just committed for this year. That's why I thought you tag him and then you extend the
Yeah.
player that's more valuable to your team, Saquon Barkley, the player that's more deserving, the player that makes your offense go, because when he's not out there, your offense can't move the ball. That's the guy that should get the extension.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the conversation about running backs getting paid is what it is. But the Giants specifically, was a situation where you tag the quarterback because there's no way you're convinced after last year. Like, are you really convinced that this is the guy going forward? This guy can carry us. If you're making $81 million guaranteed, it
Mm-hmm.
shouldn't matter who's on the field at running back. It shouldn't matter who's on the offensive line. It shouldn't matter who your weapons are. Like, get it done. Your job is to carry the team. Your job is to inspire the team. Your job is to lead the team. You make
Mm-hmm.
everybody better around you. That's what you're getting paid to do as a quarterback. And I don't see any of that leadership. I don't see any of those intangibles from Daniel Jones. And that's why we have so many busts at the quarterback position. And you look at NFL history, it happens all the time. The hit rate on drafting a quarterback in the first round is not very high at all. And you have all these late round guys that are going third, fourth, fifth, or Mr. Irrelevant and Brock Purdy. All these guys are going later and they're having success. And it's because guys are getting drafted in the first round based off physical tools. What does this guy look like? He's 6'5", 240, whatever. He's got a cannon. He's got good mobility. He's got this and that. What is not being measured at the combine, though, is all those intangibles that make up a good quarterback: pocket presence, pocket awareness. How is he in the room? How is he with his guys? How is he on and off the field? How is he at the podium? How is he going to represent your franchise? Um, and I don't. That's what makes Dak Prescott. That's what makes Dak Prescott a franchise quarterback to me. He wasn't drafted in the first round. He doesn't have the abilities these other guys. But what makes him a great quarterback is those intangibles, that leadership, the ability to put it on him. if the Cowboys are playing bad, even if it isn't his fault, he's going to wear that because he's a leader. And those are the things that you need
Yep.
as a franchise quarterback in the NFL. And I don't see it in Daniel Jones.
Yeah. Hard to
And for all the
dispute
Daniel Jones defenders who
anything that
are
you just
Giants
said.
fans, if you're a Giants fan, you're like, oh, it's the offensive line's fault. Give him some time. No weapons. No
No
Saquon. This and
weapons.
that. I mean, you're not
Mhm.
you're not hurting anybody but yourselves with defending like giving those opinions. Um, at the end of the day, the rest of the NFC East, the Cowboys, the Eagles, the Commanders, they're looking at you like, yeah, give this guy a lifetime contract because we'll keep him in our division, for another 8 years because it's just going to make it easier on us.
Yeah.
And I think Brian
Mhm.
Dable's a great coach. I think
Yeah.
Showens is good. I mean, both those guys are from Buffalo. They know what they're doing. Um, I just not there on Daniel Jones, but
Yeah.
that's it for my rant. Let's move it on to some NFL
Cool.
previews. What do you say?
Yeah. I just want to say,
Thank you. Yeah,
great rant.
it's been building
Loved
inside
it.
me for some time
Um,
now.
yeah. I mean, that was my. It's been, yeah, like we said at the top of the podcast. I mean, Daniel Jones, you're the reason that this thing's even happening. So big shout out to you, brother. Yeah, but let's get into some games. I mean, this is probably going to be our biggest, my personal favorite part of the podcast is getting into these bets, right? Let's get into these lines. Let's get into these over unders. Let's get into these statistics, these spreads for all these games. We're going to start right at the top, the 9:30 a.m. London game. It's going to be the Jags, technically at the Bills, but obviously this being a London
Jags
game,
second
there is
home.
no home
The
team
Jags second
here.
home.
And if you
Yep.
had to pick one, honestly, it would be the Jags, right?
They stayed
Yeah,
there.
the Jags are the
Yeah,
home
they
team
just
here.
stayed
It's
there.
their
The
second
fans
week in a
stayed
row in
there.
London. I, I mean, is this the
It's
how
been
many
some
years have we
time.
been doing this
It's
in
been quite
London
some
now?
time. Now we're in Germany
At
too.
least, right? I feel like the
Yeah.
oh, we're in Germany now. No shit. Well, either way, I mean, the Jags have been in London now for like 3 straight years, and this would have been a game that we would be at Orchard Park for. We would be there this Sunday if this game was not in London. Our boy Weed, huge Jags fan. We've got some friends and family, obviously being up here in upstate New York. A lot of Buffalo fans, so we would be at that game Sunday if it was not in London because it was scheduled to be in Buffalo until they made it a London game. So either way, Bills favorites here. Of course, they are at the moment -5.5, which I think is a great number to take in my opinion. Over under sitting there at 48.5. That's kind of something I would maybe maybe I would tease the over under and just take the under. I don't think the over is a solid play here. I think that the Bills last week showed they're a for real team. They faced the Dolphins offense, which has been historically good, and they kind of in a way shut them down. Other than the Dolphins' first drive or two, the rest of the game just gave the Dolphins a ton of problems, ton of issues. Uh, Josh Allen's been really good as the favorite. The Jags really haven't been clicking this year. And the Bills have been arguably one of the best teams in the NFL. I mean, other than Josh Allen's week 1 debacle versus the Jets D, the last 3 weeks he's been, moved to the MVP favorite. Whether you agree or not, that's just
It
those are the
should be
odds.
right
He's
now.
now the favorite to win MVP. One stat, right, and one statistic that I would like to point out, just because of where the line's at -5.5, right? 45 out of the 57 games that Josh Allen has won in his career as a quarterback have
Mm-hmm.
been by more than 7 points, right? So I'll say that again. 45 out of the 57. So we're talking at least three quarters, 75% of his wins have been by at least 7 points. This spread is at 5.5, right? His 3 wins this year, 38-10, so 28-point win versus the Raiders. 37-3, 34-point win versus the Commanders, and then 48-20 last week, 28-point win versus the Dolphins.
Yeah,
So
they do.
when the Bills win, they win big. When Josh Allen wins, most of the time, it's by at least a touchdown. So I would say this is probably one of my favorite bets of the week is to take this Bills team minus 5.5. And then, I think both, with the Bills traveling, um, I don't know, not big on the over here, not big on the over. So I personally would stay away from the over. If you want to take the under, I could back that, but Bills minus 5.5 sets
As far as talking
sits really
about the
well with me.
game goes, I think Jacksonville's offense looked a lot better last week. I think they had to work out some kinks and things first few weeks. Yeah, I
Versus a good
think
Falcons defense, by the way.
I think the Jags are
Falcons defense
getting
is
there
no joke.
offensively. The only thing about this matchup is the Bills' defense. To me, like we could talk about Josh Allen and how good he's been playing. To me, it's the Bills' defense, and I know they lost Trey White, but they're getting Von Miller back. So
Hmm.
they've been balling. I mean, to me, they look like
Yeah.
they're right up there with the Niners D to me right now with how they've been playing. Just bullying teams right now. I mean, even Miami, they started out hot last week, but eventually, you know, the pressure was getting to them. And Tua doesn't get pressured, but they were getting to him. So I like where the Bills defense
Right.
is at.
And that's something, last week, going into the game, uh there was a statistic that I heard, something along the lines of like a win percentage as a defense, right? Whether it's per snap, per play, whatever the percentage was. The Browns were historically good, and they were at like 25, 26%. And then second in the league was the Bills at like 38. And then the top defense from 2022 in
Mm-hmm.
that year was 39%. So essentially, meaning the Bills have one of, the top defenses at the moment. Like you mentioned, Trey White, I think that's a big loss for that secondary that is not too deep. So that is something to watch moving forward. But getting Von Miller back, the Bills, their pressure, their I'd say their pressure rate, right, percentage, is one of the top in the NFL against a team where the Dolphins are one of the least pressured offenses in the league, and the Bills just
And
you know
that
brought it
pass
to them
rush
right
makes
away.
it
So
easier for
that's
everybody
something
in
to
the
watch.
back end too. So even if you're losing Trey White, I mean, they still got capable
Yeah.
corners. They're young, but McDermott will get those guys playing good. And
Hmm.
You got Poyer and you got Hyde over the top. So it's as a corner, you have some leeway in Buffalo because of how good the rest of the defense is playing right now.
Exactly. So yeah. So yeah, it's like I said, my final take on that is I love the Bills here at minus 5.5. I am going to absolutely hammer that line.
Is it a big juice? It's a
Um,
big juicy bet to you.
but other than that, that you know what there that is not my juicy bet. I have some other ones that we're gonna get to, but I if I were putting them in my top five, right, like our favorites for the week, I would say
Okay.
Bills minus five and a
From this
half is definitely
game,
in my
what I'm
top five.
seeing is the last couple of times these two teams have played have been a bloodbath. Jacksonville's defense has played against Buffalo,
Hmm.
very well. With the Jags defense, the Bills defense being what it is, and Buffalo going over there this week, it being in London, I smell an under. I smell under 48 and a
Hmm.
half on this one. I don't particularly love the Bills minus 5.5. I could see it being sloppy. I could see it being a real sloppy first half. So I'm going to take the under in this one. Moving on, let's get to the Giants Dolphins. What are your
Yeah.
thoughts on this one?
Kind of to piggyback off of what we just mentioned about the Bills last game versus the Dolphins, the Tua has been pressured the least amount out of any quarterback in the league, right? And now the Dolphins at home against a Giants team that has the lowest amount or the
Terrible.
least amount of pressures in the NFL. We're talking about a team that cannot get pressure on the quarterback, and that team that they're playing, I think that I'd have to look up. I haven't heard much
He's
on
on the
Teron,
IR.
Teron
They put him
Armstead. I
on
know he
IR.
went out last week. I'm not.
Yeah.
He's on. He's on the IR. All right, so that's a big loss for them. That's a big loss for the O line for sure. But I still think that you know,
Just
I think that they're
too
going to
many
hold up against
weapons.
the Giants'
Way
pass
too many
rush, which
weapons.
is almost non-existent, right? I mean, you got Tua and Jalen Waddle, who are already going to be hard enough to keep up with after 2 seconds after the snap. Tua's going to be sitting back there all day. He's going to be camping. The Giants are going to have to. I feel like they're going to have to blitz, but at the same time, when you blitz against
Their
guys who can
corners are
just
not
beat the
good either.
corners right off the
Their
snap like
secondary is
that,
bad, really
right off
bad.
the press, yeah, it's and with that being said, the Dolphins are 12.5 point favorites right now at the moment, which is, I feel like anytime in the NFL you get anything
Staying
over
away.
10, it's pretty significant. Um, right. I personally would like to stay away from this game, but if I had to side with, at minus 12.5, I would
I probably
probably
would
take the
too.
Dolphins here at minus 12.5. If I have to, that's going to
You
be
know,
one of those that doesn't really fall in my top five. The over unders at 47.5. I don't think the Giants,
Dolphins could score
score more than a
48 by
touchdown
themselves.
in this
They
game.
might.
Saquon, right? They very well could, and that's the thing. So I feel like if you had to take an over or an under, you would take the over here. Um, are we still
Questionable.
missing Saquon? I haven't heard much
Questionable.
on that.
Whether he's out there or not, though, I mean,
Questionable going in. So
if
yeah,
you
I
just have a
mean,
guy off, from each, you look at each offense and say, all right, this is this team's weapons, this is this team's weapons. This might be the
yeah.
like worst matchup if you just had a guy like you got Tyreek Hill, you got Jalen Waddle,
Hmm.
you got Akane the way he's been playing, Mostert. The
Yeah.
Giants, if they have Barkley out there, there's still, I mean, it's going to be tough.
All that would do is slow the
Mhm.
game down by a few minutes. You know what I mean? It's not, they're going to try to run the ball. It may or may not work. It's not like they've been that successful this year with the run, but the Dolphins have though, right? And the Giants last week were getting gashed by Chardonnay and Kenneth Walker, which I like both of them. Not to say that they're not that great. I like both of those backs. I just don't think that the Seattle
Drew
line is
Lock
all
looked
that great.
comfortable against that
Um,
defense on Monday night.
and they were
Drew Lock
chucking
looked
them up.
comfortable.
Yeah, I mean, so yeah, I mean, like guys, if you're listening, you have to take one of these teams. I mean, don't get me wrong. No matter if I like the game or not, I'm gonna throw a bet down. It's what I do. I'm going to end up taking Miami at minus 12.5, but I do not like this. If you're one of those guys who likes to put together a couple of your favorite games in a parlay or whatever the case may be, I don't like this game that much. Or I should say, I don't like the number,
Anything over
um,
10 is
the
it's tough.
spread. But if
It's
I had
tough.
to, it's tough, right? It's tough. Like even that 49ers Cardinals game last week,
Mhm.
like that was tough. You were sweating that one out, So, but either way, yeah, we'll move on to the next one. I like Miami minus 12.5 here. If I had to
Okay.
pick, and then I would take the
Titans
over.
Colts.
Next, I think we'll Titans Colts. Okay, and this is a tough one. Titans Colts is a tough one. So Tennessee right now minus 2.5. The over under sitting at 43.5. Um, here's the thing about Tennessee. They might be arguably the most unpredictable team week to week right now in the NFL, right? You just have no idea what you're going to get unless you're getting Vrabel as the dog. Like I
Every
love
time.
Mike Vrabel as a dog, especially a home dog. Right. In this case, they're not. They're not the dog. They're not at home. They're on the road at the Colts. The Colts last week looked non-existent in the first half against, a surprisingly good Rams team to start the year. And then they came out in the second half and they actually made it a game, took it into overtime, surprised a lot of people, I think, especially in the second half. So as of right now, the bets are on the Titans, but the money is on the Colts, right? Meaning meaning more people, the public, are taking the Titans, but the big money is coming in on the Colts at plus 2.5. Um, this to me, it kind of seems like a fade. Maybe you tease. I don't know. Maybe you tease the line if you like the Titans a little more here, or even if you like the Colts. Like I would tease the Colts, right? Plus 2.5. Tease them to 8.5. I don't see the Colts losing this by more than
they've
two
been in
possessions.
games. They've been
So
in
eight and a
games.
half. I right. I feel like you can tease that if you're not super comfortable. You're not really high on either team here. You can tease the Colts. You can tease that line. Take the Colts at plus 8.5. But I think right now the Colts they're doing a really good job just like putting Richardson in positions to be successful, right? Like he Richardson has, we talked about Caleb Williams earlier. I feel like Richardson's like in that same boat, right? He's got all the tools. He's got decent weapons around him. They might have Jonathan Taylor back this week. I know that's a big
They
X
just signed
factor
him too.
kind of
Did you see
heading
they
in.
just signed him?
And
3-year
not
deal. Yep. Yeah.
no shit. Breaking
So
news.
he
Breaking,
should be
breaking,
playing.
breaking,
He
breaking,
should be.
breaking news.
I didn't even see it.
3-year deal? How much
I
money did
just
they
saw
give him?
he was signed.
We need to get a we need to get a little
Clicker.
cut snippet
Yeah,
in for
put it on the
that when we
clicker.
got some breaking news on the cast. We gotta but that's huge, right? That's huge. I just think that, and I like Zach Moss a little. I'm not gonna say or say I like him that much, but when he was in that backfield with Singletary and Buffalo, I was Moss over Singletary, whether that matters at all, which it really doesn't. That's just where I am on Moss. But um, I think that the Colts can have a good two-headed attack there with Jonathan Taylor and Zach Moss. But I don't think the Titans
They're
are
not
as
a
good as
great
they're perceived
roster.
to
They're not
be.
a great roster.
Like last week, no, and until they can get Hopkins involved and actually consistent, like their pass game, and not even just Hopkins, but like Traylon Burks, right? Like guy they spent a second round pick on, like target him, right? Get him involved. If you have to hand him the ball, like if you have to bring him on a reverse or on a
Mhm.
sweep, like get the ball. He's a playmaker. Get the ball in his hands. But last week they beat a bad Bengals team. Like the Bengals right now just are not who they were last year. I know a lot of that has to do with Burrow, which we'll get into that when we get over their matchup. But beat a bad Bengals team last week. I think the Colts are better than perceived.
Mhm.
They won a game with
At
Gardner
Baltimore.
Minshew, and then last
Mhm.
week Richardson coming back off the concussion. Yeah, exactly. I just think that the Tennessee defense might struggle against Richardson's play style. They're good against the run. I don't think that's what it's going to come down to, though. I think it's going to come down to trying to stop the pass, which Tennessee has not been good at this year, especially the deep routes. So you know, if you're into player props, hammer Michael Pittman Jr. Hammer him. I did that. I did that on
Ooh.
Thursday night. DJ Moore. I put in a player prop same game parlay straight up for DJ Moore. Now I did not expect him to go off for that much, but it was like 5 catches for over 50 yards and a touchdown, and a same game parlay got you $75 off a $20 bet. So I would do something similar with Pittman here. I think Pittman can have a huge game. But yeah, so I would take the Colts at plus 2.5. And if you're not super comfortable with that, tease it to plus 8.5. And yeah, I'm going to stay away from the over under on this one, to be honest. I don't know what Tennessee is going to bring to
Yeah,
the table
I
offensively here.
absolutely love Vrabel. Probably my favorite head coach in the league, besides McVay, obviously. Just the way he's always got those guys overperforming. It's
Yeah.
never really a great roster that's put together for him. He's never had the quarterback. We know that. Never had the quarterback.
Which is tough,
Tannehill's
right?
he's been so bad in a couple of games so far this year. It's like if they could just get some consistent quarterback play with that run game, and then get D Hop and Burks going, they would have a chance. And I still like them. I
Right.
still like them right now to come out of the AFC South. Um, yeah, we can agree to
Tough,
disagree
tough.
on that one, but
That's a
I like the
tough
Titans a
division.
lot. in this game particularly. I like them,
Hmm.
and as well as that, I think it's going to be an under. This Titans Colts, I can see it being a physical game.
Yeah,
Steichen though, something's to be said about him and the job that he's done in Indy so far. Um, great job, great job getting that team. They had such a bad offseason with
great
all
point.
that Jonathan Taylor garbage, and for them to have the start that they've had with all that bullshit going on the side, props to him. And Anthony Richardson's look good, whether he's out there or not. They got Gardner Minshew too, who can go in there and ball for him, and, win them a game if they have to. So that's all I got on that.
Yeah, I'm. I mean, yeah. To your point, though, the Titans they have to get Henry,
Yeah.
Henry going. Like you got to get Derrick Henry going, and if they can get him going, that'll get the pass game going. I mean, they have a bad offensive line, but let the big boys block, right? Get him out there, get him aggressive, and hopefully
Speaking of
that'll do something
offensive
for him along the
line,
line in
let's
the
move
pass
on
game.
to the Bengals and Cardinals.
Bengals Cardinals. I mean, you want to talk about just a game that I want to stay away from? This is one of those, right? I think that there's a lot of love on the Cardinals right now, right? The last 2 weeks they played two of the top defenses in the league. You had the Cowboys and the Niners back to back, and Joshua Dobbs showed like, hey, I'm no scrub, right? Like I can play in this league, and I just showed I can do it versus two of the top five, arguably top five defenses, which in my opinion they are, if not top 10, right? But yeah, I mean, it just seems like such a setup, right? I feel like you kind of have to go Bengals here. Let me get to the line. I'm sorry. Cincinnati's -3 here. They're the favorites in this game. This game is in Arizona. It's a 4 o'clock game. The over/under is 44.5. The thing is here, I think my biggest take on this game is that the Bengals are giving up 155 rush yards per game, right? Their secondary's banged up. They're not necessarily bad against the pass, and they have a solid pass rush group led by Hendrickson, but they're giving up 155 rush yards a game against a team that's going to
Mm-hmm.
want
Very
to run it
physical.
down your throat, right? James Conner, right? James, like they're going to want to get James Conner going, and then pair that with the RPO with Dobbs, who is obviously a mobile quarterback. And then they can kind of off that play action stretch Marquise Brown down the field, and even like maybe piggyback to what they did with Rondell Moore against Dallas, right? Use him out of the backfield as a change of pace guy. Like I I love what Cincinnati
He's
has when
not. He's
Burrow
not
is healthy,
healthy.
but he's not. He's not
I
healthy. I
don't
don't. Is
believe
T
so.
Higgins playing? I know he got banged up last week. Um, you know the only stat that I think here could help the Bengal fans or anyone who's kind of favoring the Bengals here is that anytime you have a team that scored 3 points the prior week coming into the next week, they are 61% of the time they cover the spread. Right. So we're talking almost 2 out of 3 times they
Mm-hmm.
cover the spread. This might be the 1 out of 3, though. I think that Cincinnati just been so bad to start the year, and which is so surprising to me that they beat the Rams. I can't believe that they pulled that game out of their ass. To be honest with you,
Couldn't
I know
protect
you're a Rams fan,
Stafford.
so
Couldn't protect
I don't
Stafford
like
that
to
whole
bring up the
night.
sore subject, but that was that's what it came down to, and that's all that I think
Yeah.
Cincinnati has going for them right now is that pass rush. So, but I don't think that Arizona is going to have to throw the ball. I think Arizona can just run the ball right down Cincinnati's throat. I really do. I mean, like I said, they're giving up 155 yards a game on the ground right now. So I like the Cardinals at +3. Um, and if I had to take an over under at 44.5, I mean, maybe you tease it and take the under, but I'm not, like I said, I'm not huge on this game right now because I think at some point
It's
Cincinnati
it's
turns it around,
really
but when,
it's now or never for
when is it? Maybe
Cincinnati.
it's
I
here.
think you can't lose this game. Cincinnati right now, I mean, I just don't see
Can't.
any. They're not throwing the ball down the field. Burrow is he's getting rid of the ball so fast because he has to, and he's hurt. The guy can't move, and he's not. They're not allowing time for those plays to develop downfield. So there's just nothing there. There's no threat. Defenses know exactly how to attack them right now because quarterback's playing on one leg. Um, they know, and Mixon doesn't look healthy either. They haven't gotten their run game going. I mean, maybe one of the more underrated losses over the offseason was them losing P Ryan because he could help out some. I don't see Mixon. I did watch that whole game against the Rams, and I just didn't see. I think Mixon may have lost a step. He doesn't look like the same Joe Mixon to me. Higgins is never healthy, and when he is out there, he could. How many times have we seen T. Higgins
Mhm.
go and he just doesn't get the ball? You know, that offense. You want to talk about bipolar? That offense right
Yeah,
now. I think this is it. If you
shambles.
don't win this game, then you got to Burrow's got to just sit it out, get healthy because you're not helping the guy by putting him out there on one leg and while you keep losing these games and the offense is looking terrible. Cardinals, talk about the Cardinals a little
Yeah.
bit. I don't think the Cardinals are getting enough respect right now with how they've played. They should have won that game against the Giants. They could very well be 2-2 right
Hmm.
now. And who would have thought that going into the season? Dobbs has looked really good. Credit to him. Guy came in 2 weeks notice.
Not me.
2 weeks notice. Hey, you're going to play quarterback for us, and he's done a great job. They didn't even have the guy's jersey in the team shop. Did you know that? It's
Yeah, I
insane.
saw that. Isn't that crazy? Like as an organization, not only do you not have the guy's jersey who's going to be your
Yeah,
quarterback, but like your starting quarterback. You
yeah.
and it was what, week 2? It wasn't even week 1. It was like week 2 or 3. It just blows my mind that they didn't have his jersey there. But yeah, I mean, I think, like you said, going into the season, it was funny. You asked me a couple early takes from the 1 o'clock games as we were watching in week 1, and my early take was like, "Hey, I don't know if the Cardinals are going to win a
Yeah,
game this season." And
yeah.
boy, was I fucking wrong. I mean, hey, when I'm wrong, I'll admit it. And I was very wrong about the Cardinals. I was very sold on them winning less than 3 games this year, right? Arguably being as bad as like the Detroit Lions
Yeah.
without Stafford, you know. Um, but they proved me wrong. They proved a lot of people wrong, and I think that this is another
Let's
this
not
this
get
can
it
be a very
twisted that
winnable game for
defense
them.
is bad. Arizona's defense is bad, but offensively, they got some personnel, sneaky
Yes.
weapons. I mean, you talk about James Conner, Dobbs has looked good, and you got Hollywood Brown, you got Rondale Moore, and this Michael Wilson cat who
Hmm.
came out and balled last week. They got him playing now, so and then Ertz, obviously. Arizona's got you got some sneaky
Yeah.
weapons, and they'll be able to hang with teams. You saw it hang with the Niners for a minute. I don't feel strongly about anything in this game.
Yeah.
I'm going to stay away. Let's move on to
Yeah.
yeah. I'm
This is
feeling that
one
as
that's
well.
stay away
Let's
from.
move on to Eagles Rams.
Eagles Rams. All right, so this is this is a tough one for me. I mean, this one's going to be in LA. You got the Eagles are 4-point favorites right now. Which, by the way, a lot of these lines, not a lot, all of these lines that I'm going to talk about and say are from DraftKings Sportsbook. So they might be a half point different in either direction if you're going FanDuel or Caesars. But every line I'm going to tell you over under is straight out of DraftKings. So with that being said, Philadelphia is 4-point favorites here. The over under sitting at 50.5. Uh, my favorite statistic out of this game is that the Rams so far this year are undefeated against the spread, right? Uh, the question is, Cup is healthy, he's back, he's expected to play. How healthy is Stafford? I'm gonna have some questions for Pat here. Pat's my insider on the Rams, so any questions I have, I'm gonna send his way. So let's start with
He
that. Like, how
definitely got
healthy
banged
is
up
Stafford?
last week. There's so many different injuries the guy's been going through, these last couple of years. But the thing about Stafford is if he could physically, go out there and just move around a little bit and sling it, like it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what it is. The guy's gonna go out there and he's gonna sling it. He's looked great this year.
It
Yeah,
looked
he
like
was
he
gutting it
gutted it
out.
out in overtime.
His hip last
Yeah,
week
yeah.
hurt that in the late third quarter, and that's when everything started coming apart in Indy.
Mm.
But what does he do? He comes out and he gets it done in overtime, game-winning drive, throws it to Puka to win the game, and
Puka. Can you say his name so
Puka
everyone understands how to
Nakua,
say it correctly?
Puka Nakua, House
Very easy.
Nakua. It's gonna
Not
be a
not Kiwa.
household name before you know it.
Nakua.
He's already he's already on those little
Fifth round pick.
breakfast dates with Stafford and Cup in the morning. So I mean, chemistry is off the chain right now with Matthew Stafford and Puka Nakua.
I love that. And by the way, I also love that Cup is back. Cup is someone I took in my fantasy team with the expectation that he was going to be out, but I absolutely love the Stafford Cup connection. It's I think one of the most dominant in the NFL. As if you want to go with the 1-2 punch, like I think there might not be a better one in the NFL than those two. With this game, though, you know the Eagles' front seven is obviously tough. That it's tough, but last week Howell and I think everyone is a little bit surprised by Sam Howell and how well he's played in the Bieniemy offense, but like he looked like an all
Diming him
pro
up.
last week versus the Eagles D. He balled out, right? He balled out. And I guess to get into a little bit of the statistics, like the Eagles defense so far this year, which was they had a lot of moving pieces over the offseason, right? You lost Gardner Johnson, you lost Edwards. I think they lost another linebacker. They brought back both corners. But the coordinator was on the move.
Yep.
He went to
Gander
Arizona,
in
I
Arizona. Yep.
believe, or right? Yeah. Yep. So and a lot of moving pieces, and maybe they figure this out and they just get more confident going week to week. But right now, they've given up the sixth most pass yards in the NFL, and they're going against a team that loves to throw the ball in the Rams. And against the rush, though, the Eagles are second. They've given up the second least amount of rush yards. They're middle of the pack in points. The Rams defense is seventh against the pass. They're middle of the pack versus the run, and they're middle of the pack for points as well. I think the Rams D is kind of over succeeded. Oh, I think we had
Yeah.
some technical difficulties. Are we back? Can you hear me?
You get through it.
All right, perfect. So I'll yeah, I'll piggyback there. I think that the Rams defense so far this year is over succeeded versus expectations. Um, a couple more stats to throw in there: the turnover differential, which may very well be the difference in this game on Sunday. Philadelphia is at +4 for the year, and the Rams are at -3. Not that the Rams have given the ball away a whole lot, but they haven't had it really many takeaways. So they're -3 for the year. Total offensive yards for both teams are identical. The Rams are averaging 60 more pass yards a game. Philly's averaging 60 more rush yards per game. Philadelphia is averaging 5 more points per game, but the Rams are more efficient in the red zone, right? So it's like every statistic that you can throw out
Right.
there, it's like counter, 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 counter. So this is, I don't know. I think this is going to be a lot closer than maybe people expect, just due to the fact that the Eagles are undefeated. They're 4-0. The Rams
Yes.
are, I believe, 2-2. But this line at -4, like I kind of like the Rams here. Maybe I tease it. I tease it down to 10, maybe 10.5 for the Rams. But that they're undefeated against the spread. So if you're not a
Thanks to
big
that
if you're not a big teaser,
thanks to that McVay field goal
maybe you take
against
them
the
at +4.
Niners. Yeah, thanks to that.
Unbelievable too, by the way. Yeah,
Undefeated
that
against the
fucked
spread.
me. That fucked me right over. Yeah, that's a good point. Actually, hell of a point. Thank you,
Hell of
McVeigh.
a
You
cover.
fucking cost me some money there. You
Talking
fucking
about the
genius.
Eagles, I think everybody's overreacting a little bit to the problems that they've had on defense just because Bradbury hasn't been healthy. They lost Gardner Johnson the offseason, I think was huge for them. So Blankenship's in there all the time now, and I think he's
Yeah,
looked good. But I think it's just going to take some time for that secondary, getting a feel for everything, playing together as a unit, and then Bradbury obviously getting healthy. But the front is so good that it's the same thing in Buffalo. It's like when your front is playing that good, it's making everything easier for everybody else on defense, and that's tough on teams that are with struggling offensive lines. It doesn't
yeah,
matter how good the secondary you're going against if the quarterback doesn't have any time, and that's something that I'm worried about tomorrow with the Rams is the O line's got to show up, and we got to McVay. We're not going to be able to run it. We're not going to be able to run it on Philly, but we have to at
yeah,
least try. We have to at least try and get them to think that hey, they might run here, because if we're just dropping Stafford back, 50 times against that front with the way our O line has looked at points this year, it's not going to be good. I don't like the results of what that could be. I mean, obviously, Cup coming back is big. We got some weapons. Tutu Atwell has looked good. Higbee still looks good where he's at right now. And then obviously
yeah.
Puka Nakua. Kyron Williams needs to have a day tomorrow for us to have a chance. That's what I think. I think we need to get the run game going, or we're not going to have a chance against that front. As far as Philly's offense, their front's going to
Yeah.
do. They're going to do what they can to make Aaron Donald a non-factor. And unfortunately for us, there's not much on that front besides Donald. So you got Kelsey up front, and those boys. They're going to have a scheme put together to make sure 99 is not wrecking the game for him. So Aaron Donald, he's got to do something. There's somebody else has got to step up. You know what I mean? Somebody else has got to step up on that defense tomorrow. AJ
Yeah.
Brown, AJ
I
Brown
think
was balling
if Aaron,
last week. You got to find a
sorry, go
way
ahead.
to. You got to stop him. You got to stop Devontae Smith. I mean, you got to stop Jalen Hurts in the RPO game. There's a lot that's going to get thrown at that defense, and we're a very young defense. I'm a little nervous to see how it's going to play out, mostly because of how are we going to be able to protect Stafford? And I think if we can protect Stafford, then he will be able to exploit that secondary. But if we can't, then it's going to be a long day for the Rams.
Yeah, and I mean, to my point I made earlier, you know, the I feel like the Rams this year have been very pass happy, and then once they get down inside the red zone, then they start to mix it up, right? So Kyron Williams has had quite a few rushing touchdowns so far on the year. Um, it's an interesting matchup. You got a team who's been able to pass it really well so far, and then they get cut back against a team who's given up the sixth most pass yards in the league. To your point, they are going to have to. Yeah, you can't just drop Stafford back the entire game against that front seven in Philly. They're going to have to try to run the ball, so they're going to have to pick their spots. McVay is the scheme king, in my opinion. I think he can figure it out. I don't
Don't
think the
bail on
Rams
the
are a
run,
bad play here
Sean.
at plus
Do
four.
not bail on the run.
So uh,
Run the football.
don't bail on the run. This game is in
There will
Angeles
probably still be
again.
more Eagles fans there, though.
So Rams, that's fair. Rams undefeated against the spread. Eagles undefeated in general. What do
Let's
we
talk
got
about
next?
maybe the most intriguing 1-3 matchup that you could come up with. You got Nathaniel Hackett, Zach Wilson
Mm.
rolling into Denver to take on Russell Wilson
Oh,
and Sean Payton. Obviously, I'm referring to what went on in the offseason. Sean
can't,
Payton calling out Nathaniel Hackett and his performance with Denver last year. Um, First of all, Hackett must have loved when Denver got 70 put on him by Miami. But to me, this is an intriguing matchup because of how the Jets offense looked on Sunday night. I mean, can we see anything remotely close to that? And they're playing against probably the worst defense in the league, Denver. They just let Randy Gregory go because they want to get younger. But I mean, that defense, poor Pat Surtain. I don't know. He might be having a request to trade, and he just came into the league. But for me, sorry, go ahead.
Okay. No, I've done my best to keep up, but for anyone who's listening, I had a busy week this year, so I'm a little behind all the active moves. Hence why I didn't know that certain things happened, including this Randy Gregory cut.
But yeah, and it
They
was
just
it
cut
was
him.
something weird. It was the same thing that happened with J.C. Jackson went back to New England, where the Chargers cut him, but for some reason they still had to give compensation. Um, Long story short, he's on the 49ers now. Randy Gregory's on the 49ers.
Oh
Yeah,
my gosh. Unbelievable. Oh my goodness.
yeah,
Fucking run it up, San Francisco. Okay, but yeah, no, this is I had this in my notes for this game. This is definitely one of the
yeah.
most intriguing matchups of the week to me, personally. The Jets are at the Broncos. This game is in Denver, Mile High. Denver is the favorite here at -2.5 with an over under at a staggering 43.5. Pat, is there anything you wanted to finish
No,
on
I just
before I
wanted,
get going into what I
like I said,
have?
I'm curious to see how that Jets offense is going to look. I think this is the week where Brees Hall can get it going. This is the one week I'm putting Brees Hall in my starting lineup in fantasy because I think he can run all over that defense and they can have some success. Um, we'll get into this is one of my
Yeah.
big juicy bets. I love the Jets in this game. Did you have anything else to touch
Mm,
on this though?
juicy. Oh, I got material on this. I mean, like I said, this is one of the most intriguing matchups to me. I had to dive in and look at what we have going on. For context, me and Pat are
Yeah, we
playing each
are.
other this week in fantasy, and I think Brees Hall is just who's making me nervous because he could just have a monster game if they get him going, depending on how they switched up with Dalvin Cook, which I'm still unsure of. Right, I have no idea who gets the ball first, who's the third down back there. I have no idea. The Jets haven't really given us much of an identity when it comes to the run game, but my first thought on this game, I looked at it and I said, holy shit, how is
Exactly.
Denver favored here? I mean, I get it, right? Like I get it. You got Zach Wilson. The it's tough. It's tough. I couldn't believe that Denver was favored, but like I get it, right? The Broncos defense has allowed the highest completion percentage through four
Whew.
games all time. This isn't in the last 10 years. This isn't in the last 20 years. Even that's staggering. All time, the Broncos defense has allowed
That
the
defense
highest
was good
completion
last year
percentage through
too.
four
They had a good
games
defense
all
last
time,
year.
right? Yeah, no one saw this coming. No one saw the defense coming, right? Week to week, anything can really happen in the NFL, right? Zach Wilson last week showed like, hey, once again, he belongs in the league, right? He showed he could be competent. He made his reads. That was his thing. You talked earlier about Daniel Jones not being able to make his reads and progress, go through his progression. Zach Wilson did that, right? He did that last week against an
Yeah, they've been
underrated
balling.
Chiefs defense. Like the Chiefs defense, people kind of sleep on their unit. They're a good unit, right? But week to week anything can happen. I just like I don't see the Broncos defense like all of a sudden now you get rid of Randy Gregory too on top of that, which I had no idea was happening. Now all of a sudden you're going to come out and ball out against the Jets offense, which obviously has been struggling for most of the year, but finally kind of like you started to see them piece it together last week against Kansas City. The thing is here, like the Broncos on top of that completion percentage stat I told you, like they have the worst run defense in the
They gave up
NFL by
eight
almost 20 yards a
eight
game.
touchdowns to both
Like it's
Miami running
it's
backs. combined 2 weeks ago.
Yes, and it's not, and I know that that kind of a, that Miami game is, it has inflated the stats. I understand that, but they have the worst run defense in the NFL by almost 20 yards a game. The Jets don't even need to throw the ball. I mean, the Jets can win this
Hmm.
game. Zach Wilson can throw the ball 15 times, right? And he can do his classic dump off here and there. And that's the thing. Run through your progressions, dump
Garrett
it
Wilson,
off to
get the ball in
Brees
Garrett
Hall or
Wilson's
Dalvin
hands
Cook and let
and
him
let
make a
him work with
play.
it.
The, Bron- the Broncos can't tackle. I mean, this is, one, in my opinion, one of the best bets of the week. I, I know I said earlier I was hammering. Um, I forget what game it was, to be honest with you at this point, but I'm hammering the Jets in this one.
Yeah,
This is one of
I
your
love the
juicy
juicy
bets. I'll let
bets.
you take over
We'll
from
get to
here.
that. I love the Jets in this one. Let's move on to Chiefs Vikings. What do you got for that one?
Chiefs
In
Vikings
Minnesota,
is
Minnesota.
interesting. That is that's another interesting game. So that's another 4 o'clock game. Um, they got Kansas City at -3.5. The over unders at 53, and this is it, like you mentioned, in Minnesota. Uh, I, my first reaction was I love the Chiefs here at the spread. Like I love the Chiefs at -3.5. I know the trend. I don't know if many people know, but the trend kind of with Mahomes over the last couple of years has been to kind of fade him when he's favored by more than three, and then you end up, you kind of back him when
Mm-hmm.
he's favored by less than three or he's a dog. Right now, he's favored by 3.5, so it's like right on that cutoff point. I'm backing him this week. I'm backing Mahomes. I think that you know, even Kirk Cousins tends to he's a better quarterback when he plays at home in Minnesota. I don't think there's any denying that. Um, but the Vikings defense has just been awful. They have been terrible. They're allowing the sixth highest completion percentage all time through 4 games, right? So I know we just kind of went over that statistic from Denver being the highest in NFL history through 4 games. The Vikings are the sixth worst. So they've allowed the sixth highest completion percentage through 4 games all time. I'm not sure where the money is on this one. Um, but I do know from what I've been seeing that this is kind of like a classic Kirk game, like you like that type deal, right? Like
Yes.
he's
With
gonna
the
be in
chains
Lesnar
on.
fucking doing that dance, right? Like you know, right? And last week, KC struggled against the Jets, but I think this is a bounce back game for Mahomes. Like you'd never see Mahomes, like some of the throws he made last week were just not typical of what he does, right? I don't think he does that 2 weeks in a row, once again, against one of the worst passing defenses in the league. People have, they say the Chiefs offense hasn't quite looked right. And, that's fair, right? That's fair. But at the same time, they're third in
Yeah.
yards and they're top 10 in points. And, they're getting it done. Their only loss this year is by 1 point versus Detroit. That was week 1 with no Kelsey. So I really like the Chiefs here. Um, I think that the over under 53, the 53s, it's a pretty high over under, but I think this is one
Yeah.
that you can
I
kind of feel
agree.
comfortable taking the over on.
Not sure if I'm going to take it, but I am leaning the over with this one as well. Minnesota's defense, I mean, mentioned it earlier in reference to Daniel Jones' performance against their defense last year. Their defense was really bad last year. Defense is really bad again this year. And I know they brought in Brian Flores as their DC, but there's just not a lot there. I mean, you're not seeing it. You could argue
Nope.
that maybe they are better than last year, but that stat, the completion percentage stat, just argues against it's. Yeah, it's not a good
Hard to
stat. I
argue, right?
mean, I like Kansas City too going in. I think
No.
they got humbled a little bit last week being in that game. Um, they could have lost that
Mm-hmm.
game. I mean, you take away some of the calls that went on late in that game, we could be having a different discussion. The Jets could
Yeah.
have very well won that game last week. I think sometimes Mahomes just gets bored out there with some of the shit that he's doing because he's so good that he thinks he can get away
Yeah.
with anything, any kind of throw. But that's that Brett Favre in him at times. But I like the Chiefs look to cover here and probably going to lean the over as well. Um, That's all I got for that one. Moving
Yep.
on, last matchup: Cowboys Niners Sunday Night Football. Juicy.
Yeah. Um, you know, this is one that I didn't really want to do a whole lot of digging into. But it, you know, the more I looked, the more I had to. I mean, and this is something I think that people will come to learn and know about me is I'm not a super stereotypical Cowboys fan where I think they're just making the
Very
Super
realistic.
Bowl every year, this and
We
that.
take pride on we take pride on our non-biased takes.
Yeah, I think I'm right, and that I love and hate this game. I love and I hate it. I love it for the fact that this is the best game of the week for obviously right 3-1 versus 4-0. But I hate this game because I think that the Niners are just so good. I think they're so well balanced. Their defense is so good. It's hard to it's hard to back Dallas in this one. So this is it's in San Francisco. The Niners are 3.5 point favorites here. The over under sitting at 45. Everything just seems to be going right. For the Niners right now, they're playing great football. It, the only thing I can say, I think, in this goes for both teams, in my opinion, is that neither team has really been tested so far this year, other than that kind of like we mentioned earlier, the Rams being kind of that surprise team so far this year, playing really well. Like they kind of brought it to the Niners and they put them to the test. The Niners won by 7. That was a close game. Other than that, San Francisco beat up on 3 bad teams. Pittsburgh, awful this year. Giants, awful. Cardinals are who they are, right? But it's kind of the same story with the Cowboys. Depending on how you feel about the Patriots, right? Week 1 against the Giants, they took it to them, and then they had Zach Wilson and the Jets, and then they had the huge upset, kind of overlooked the Cardinals. Either way, the Cardinals punched them right in the mouth. In Dallas, I think that humbled them, and they needed that, especially after those first 2 blowout wins in New York. And then they came back and without Trayvon Diggs, who which is a huge loss to their defense. They brought it to the Patriots, which I just want to say I think
Hot
Mac
garbage.
Jones is not it.
Hot
You
garbage.
know, we'll get to that, but maybe that should
That
have
should
been
have
my
been your
hot
rant.
potato
I
take of the
should have
day,
ranted
but
about
like
Daniel
I
Jones, and
just
then you
don't
could
think
rant
Mac
about
Jones is a
Mac
good player.
Jones.
Yeah, you know what I mean. Like that's just he's not the guy. So either way, like I said, neither team has really been put to the test other than that Rams 49ers matchup. But to dive into the stats, which um, is going to be a little lengthy here, so forgive me. But like I said, I started diving in and I couldn't resist. Dallas is mid versus the run, right? Like they're middle of the pack. That's what they tried to focus on in the offseason. They spent the first round pick on Mozzie Smith to improve the run defense, and he's not even really playing right now. They're playing it's Osa Digizua, and then they got Jonathan Hankins, and then they kind of rotate Mozzie in there every once in a while, but they're just not getting it done versus the run. And they're middle of the pack right now, and that's with them being up as much as they've been. Like imagine if they were in closer games where the other team could afford to run the ball, right? Like they've been up by so much that they just have to keep throwing the ball. And I think that's kind of played into Dallas's favor where they don't have to defend the run. But like this is terrible matchup.
Yeah.
The 49ers are so good running the ball with McCaffrey and scheming, and I think that's going to be the difference in this, which is why it's really, like I said, hard to back Dallas in this. But San Francisco, they're third versus the run defensively. They're mid versus the pass. Both defenses, they get takeaways. They don't give up a lot of points. And both teams, both Dallas and San Francisco this year, have only had one giveaway. Like they don't turn the ball over. They've been very efficient. Both teams are identical in penalty yardage, the whole nine, right? It can come down to third down conversions. Like Dallas right now is one of the best on the year, both sides of the ball, offensive and defensively. They're one of the best third down teams. But historically, against San Francisco, they have been awful. Like I don't have the numbers, but they've been really bad against San Francisco on third down. Um, and then I guess if you want to come down to the pass rush, like San Francisco this year has been a lot more efficient. I mean, like Dallas has had more sacks, and that's just credit to Micah Parsons because he's an absolute beast. But other than that, like the Cowboys gave Dak a better pocket. Purdy's been pressured more than Dak has. Uh, so it's another one of those games like we talked about the Eagles Rams, like things that just keep canceling each other out. I think it's kind of the case here. For the Cowboys, I think that Deron Bland's going to have another good game. If he doesn't, if the Cowboys can't stop the run, if Deron Bland doesn't have a good game, the Cowboys don't have a shot here.
I absolutely love this game. I'm so excited about this game, just as a football fan perspective, because I think when these two teams play, it's old school, it's smash mouth, it's hit you in the mouth. Um, Defense, two great defenses, and they both have capable weapons on offense. 2 years in a row, 49ers and Cowboys season, and both those games were great games. Came down to the wire in the end. So physical. It was probably my favorite game last year. Was that playoff game? Obviously, I don't love to see 49ers win,
Mm-hmm.
but I have total respect for everything they do. They're just they're a powerhouse. But I think Dallas can hang with them. I mean,
They really
obviously
are.
losing Diggs is huge. It's really not fair because of how good that defense was playing, and you have that shutdown corner to go with it. To not have that anymore, that just sucks. Um, but I still think they're a great team.
Yeah.
I like the under in this matchup. Like I said, it's just going to be bloodbath, in my opinion.
Love and hate this game. I love it from a football perspective, just to be able to watch that game and see these two teams, these powerhouse kind of go at each other. I hate it in the sense of, and on the bet, I think that I'm having a hard time back in Dallas here. I think Niners probably is going to be your play at -3.5. Maybe the public starts to hammer Dallas, and you can get the Niners at 2.5 or 3, and then maybe that's when you jump all over it. But kind of like
It's
Pat
in
said, I
play
think the
for
under is kind
sure.
of what you ride with here.
Let's cap it off. What do we got? What do we got for our
Um, but yeah, I
big, juicy bets?
big juicy bets. And I'm gonna kind of give a little rundown here on anything that we didn't cover. But I think that one of my big juicy bets, which is a game we didn't talk
Yes,
about,
I'm
is
on
the
board with
Ravens
this
at the
one.
Steelers. Right? I think that the this is a 1 o'clock game. Baltimore is 4.5 point favorites here. The over under is a staggering 38. So for context here, everyone, the underdog in this series, Ravens and Steelers, the underdog is 22-5-3 against the spread between Tomlin and Harbaugh. When these two face off, the underdog is 22-5-3 against the spread. The underdog here being the Steelers at +4.5. The underdog has covered 11 straight, and they are 15-1-1 since 2015. When the line is 3 or more since 2005, the underdog is 21-3-3. Traditionally, historically, the home divisional AFC North dogs are very good against the spread. I don't care if you have Kenny Pickett on one leg or Mitch Trubisky healthy. Give me the dog here. I mean, the Ravens are still a little banged up. The Steelers just seem poorly coached on both sides of the ball so far this year, but like everything points to, I mean, they're the underdog, and then in the series, the home dog. This is who you want, right? So I mean, my big juicy bet is taking
Love
the
it. I'm on
Steelers here
board
at
as
plus
well.
four and a
I'm
half.
gonna add that to mine. Another thing, this matchup, last four times these teams have played, so last two seasons. December 2021, Steelers beat the Ravens 2019. January 2022, Steelers beat the Ravens 16-13. And then the two matchups last year, Ravens beat the Steelers 16-14. And then they also beat them 16-13. So if you're getting 4.5 either way in this matchup,
Gosh,
you're taking the underdog. And Kenny Pickett is
yeah, and
expected to
and
play.
the
Pickett
only
is expected to play too.
score out of there, that's huge. But yeah, I mean that is huge actually, uh, which kind of helps me feel even better about taking the Steelers here as a dog. But all of those numbers that Pat just listed, there was only one game there. The over under for this one is 38. There was only one game that he listed that went over that, and it was 39. So if if you're a big over under guy, hammer the under here. Tease it if you must.
Yeah,
But that's a juicy
it's
bet.
moist,
That's
very
a
moist.
juicy bet this week.
All right, what's your next
Very
one?
moist. Next juicy bet. You know, there's a few here that I mean, like I said earlier, I think the
I'm
Jets
taking
are
a
a
money
juicy
line.
bet. We
Love
already
the
went over
Jets.
that one.
Juicy bet. I'm taking a money line.
Yes, that's a good one. But I'd have to say probably, and this is kind of a sleeper matchup here. The Saints at the Patriots, right? Right now, it's a doggy dog fight, a Snoop
Dog a
doggy
dog.
dog fight. The Patriots are 1 point favorites here. You know, the Patriots are 1 point favorite here. The over under sitting at 39. This is just a game. There's not going to be a whole lot of points scored. The Saints offense has been um, probably the most inefficient and most boring offense to watch so far this year. And I don't want to go on that rant about Mac Jones, but he sucks, right? I mean, prove me wrong. Mac Jones is like, he's just not the guy. Uh, the Saints offense has been truly awful this year. Um, they're 28th in success rate, 27th in expected yards per carry. They're 28th in the league overall, just as an offense. Their offensive coordinator has just not been helping, right? Carr, 2 years ago with the Raiders, was number one in play action. And this year they've run a
Wow.
total of
What
10
a
play action
stat.
plays, right? You, you could like playing to your personnel, right? And taking advantage of what your players are good at. The Saints just have not been doing that this year. And
Kamara.
hopefully they
Second
start
week
to get
with
it going.
Kamara.
But yeah,
Second week with
Carr
Kamara. So
number
we'll
one in
see.
play
See
action.
what that looks like.
Yeah, right. And to that, Olave clearly is your number one guy. I mean, Michael Thomas is a great number two, but Olave is your number one, hands down. He had one catch last week. Kamara had 13
It's
catches
pathetic.
for 33 yards.
It's
I
check
mean,
down city.
that's got to change. That has that has to change. But the big kicker for me is Matthew Judon and Christian Gonzalez are both going to be out this Sunday for the Patriots defense. I
Oh,
think
for
that
sure.
this is an ugly game, and there's not a lot to like here. But I'm backing the Saints in this one. I think that you can probably hammer the under, tease it if you must again, but I like the Saints in this one and the under. That is a juicy bet for me. As bad as their offense has been, with Kamara back, they have to get it going. They get Olave going, Judon, Christian Gonzalez both out. The Patriots have they have a slim shot
I'm
at
staying away
keeping
from
this one
this
close.
one. I will take an. I'm going to add an under, and I talked about this earlier. Jags Bills. I like under 48 and a half. Like I said earlier, the way the Bills defense is looking. Um, the Jags can get to Josh Allen too. Josh Allen can get to Josh Allen. This is the Josh Allen Bowl too. So who's the real Josh Allen? Who's the real Josh Allen? Who's the
Yeah,
fake
this is the
Josh
Josh
Allen?
Allen Bowl,
Give me the under as a juicy bet.
right? Yeah, I think that I do like that a lot. There's just a couple games I wanted to touch on that we didn't cover. I'm going to keep it real quick, real brief for these. You got Carolina at Detroit. The Lions are -9.5. I thought that was really high when I first saw it. Um, you know, the, you can get into certain teams get lucky, certain teams don't get lucky. It's a thing, right? It's hard to track, but like you have lucky plays, you have unlucky plays. The Carolina's been pretty unlucky this year. Bryce Young's been really bad on film. The team in general just is bad on film. He doesn't seem to have much control in the offense. Detroit's looked great, especially against the Packers. Detroit, and then this is one stat to take away. Like Detroit hasn't been favored by a touchdown or more since September 10th of 2018 versus the Jets. So it's been 5 years since Detroit's been favored by a touchdown or more. Uh, the kicker here, I think, is that Amon-Ra St. Brown is out Sunday. Carolina's defense is tough. This one is in Detroit. I'm staying away from this one. Take it as you will, but those are my comments on that. And then you got Houston and Atlanta. The Falcons are, a 1.5 favorite. Some love Atlanta here. They kind of think that CJ Stroud, as excellent as he's been historically, like he's been so good to start the year, he's due for kind of like a meltdown game, right? Kind of that rookie game. Desmond Ritter, if he's not, I mean, if he just shows up, like, just be decent here, Atlanta wins this game.
Get Kyle
I
Pitts the
think
ball.
that,
Throw it to Kyle Pitts, that guy that you
one
drafted,
stat I saw,
top 10 pick.
yeah, not Jonnu Smith,
Or else trade him.
Kyle Pitts, right? Like, if you can target Jonnu Smith, they're targeting Jonnu Smith 7-8 times a game, and they're getting him the ball. Like, why can't you
So
do that?
bad.
I just don't understand. You can't do that with Kyle Pitts. But 72% of the money is on the Texans. The pros are betting on the Falcons here, so this is one I'm probably going to stay away from. But like I told you earlier in the podcast, I do put something on every single game, so I'm probably going to back the Falcons here at -1.5.
Well, that's it. So, sum it up. My juicy
But,
bets for the weekend
yeah,
would be Jags Bills. I'm taking under 48.5. Jets money line over Denver. Cowboys Niners under 45. And hammer Steelers plus 4.5 home against the Ravens.
hammer that. Ready to roll. Ready to roll. Hammer the fucking Steelers. I'm telling you guys, hammer them. Other than that, like, like I said, I like the Bills -5.5. I really like the Saints at +1. You can tease that if you must. I mean, there's a couple games where I love the Chiefs. I think that might be my juiciest bet. It might be the Chiefs -3.5, if not the Jets at +2.5. Like, there's a lot of games to love this week, and there's a few to stay away from. But yeah, that's where I'm at for this week.
Episode 1.
Episode 1, right? I think we're gonna try to get a recap
follow
going
along.
here on Tuesday if possible, maybe Wednesday at the latest. But yeah, we'll give you our recap. We'll let you know how we did on our bets, and we'll give you a better line. I know right now it's kind of like, hey, I would back this, I would do that. Like, on the recap, I'm going to let you know exactly what I did, exactly who I took, at what line, at the over under, and I'm going to let you know just how good
keep it
I
real.
did.
We got to keep it
or
real.
bad. but got to keep it real. But you're confident going into your bets, boys. You have to be confident going in, and fucking turn on Red Zone. If you don't have Red Zone, I don't know what you're doing. You're a jabroni. Ready to roll. Dude, we need Stu. But yeah, it's been a pleasure.
Yeah. Like I said,
I think that's a
like
wrap,
and subscribe on YouTube. Follow our Instagram. And we will see you next week. Thank you and goodbye.
See you next week.